All right, yes, I understand, totally. Yeah, that's too bad. Okay. All right, talk to you later. Bye. Who was that, Blademan? That was the commissioner. His mower's been kidnapped. Or mower-napped. Do they think it's related to that Dynamark Dan, the local mower murderer with 24 confirmed kills underneath his mower belt? That guy? Is that the guy? It's too early to tell, but it sounds like his MO. W. But they want us to investigate and stop this Dynamark Dan. Well, that's no easy task. Where do we even start, Blademan? In order to catch a scumbag, you must think like a scumbag. And I think I know just a scumbag who can help us catch this scumbag. We're in quite a bind, and we could really use your help. We might be able to make it worth your while and shave a couple of years off your sentence if you could help us. We need your expertise in helping us catch this serial mower murderer. So what do you say? Think you can help us?
I'm sure we can work a deal.
There's a guy going around snatching up mowers, stripping them, dumping the mower carcasses. Maybe you can help us catch this serial mower killer.
In order to capture a mower criminal, you gotta think like a mower criminal. So why don't you tell me a little bit more about this gentleman, Dynamark Dan?
Would you mow with me? I'd mow so many lawns with me. It puts the oil on its frame, or it gets the pressure washer again.
Pterodactyl here. Today's how-to is going to be rebuilding this Stihl MS660 or 066. They're the same. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a new top end on it. And we're going to use some aftermarket parts, and we're going to use some OEM parts. So we bought this Farmer Tech, also known as Hutzel, H-U-Z-T-L. We bought this kit, and these are pretty decent kits. There are some weak points we're going to go over. And one of them being the piston rings are pretty weak on this. I don't know what material they use over there, but we're going to put the OEM Stihl piston rings on the Farmer Tech / Hutzel kit. And another weak point is the spark plug threads, because I just rebuilt one of these for this same customer, and it just came back today and the threads were blown out. So we're going to helicoil that ahead of time. So good thing that happened today because we're filming. So whenever you want to work on a chainsaw, especially the top end, you don't want a bunch of dirt and sawdust, oily sawdust and dirt to fall inside the crankcase. So it's got to be real clean. So what we're going to do is we're going to disassemble some of this, and then we're going to take it and pressure wash it. Give it a good pressure scrubbing. Now you're probably wondering, well, you already got most of it taken apart already, Taryl. Where's the safety brake and where's the wrap handle? Well, as I said, I already did one of these for this guy. He brought two of them in on the same day. Both of them smoked. And of course, he was cutting wood on a real hot, humid day. And I noticed that these chainsaws don't like that kind of weather, especially with that ethanol fuel. Makes them seem to run even hotter. So his other saw was pretty trashed. So we had to take a bunch of parts off of this one to put on the other one. And those parts being the wrap handle, the safety brake, that stuff was all broken. And I noticed when I went to rebuild the other one, some of the anti-vibe mounts were broke. So we were able to get them from Stens. This anti-vibe cap was missing. And the chain catcher was broke. And the chain catcher, that helps to hold this cap in. So that's probably why that was missing on that other saw. And then this sleeve for the safety brake and this special metric long screw. So we had to get these from Stihl. So I'm going to go ahead and take some of this apart and we're going to go out and give it a good pressure scrubbing. Whenever you're doing these rebuilds, I use this a lot. Get yourself a good T27 bit. Long reach 3/8 drive. Now I got this one from Napa. And it's guaranteed for life because I already broke one of these and they gave me a new one. It's a Carlisle from Napa. This is handy to have. So we're going to take this cover off. Now there's several reasons why sometimes these chainsaws will score the piston and cylinder. And it's usually on the exhaust side. And when it's on the exhaust side, that usually means it ran lean. And there's a couple reasons why that happens. One of them being the fuel filter inside the gas tank not being changed on a regular basis. And that fuel filter starts to get plugged up with sawdust and stuff because it falls in there over time. And then what happens is even though you got the right mix in there, it tends to run lean. It's like filtering out some of the oil. Or a vacuum leak. Leaky crank seal, where the cylinder meets the crankcase, it could leak there. So a lot of times, that'll cause it to run lean. And you'll smoke your chainsaw. Because a crankcase leak or a vacuum leak will almost mimic a carburetor problem. It won't idle and then it'll run lean. This rubber boot, sometimes they get the chainsaw stuck in a tree and they're yanking on it trying to pull it out of the tree. And they end up breaking the anti-vibe mounts and they end up tearing the manifold boot. Now this one looks like it had been rebuilt. Maybe not. It's got a OEM Stihl cylinder on it. And the compression release has been blocked off. And I got the muffin loose. I'm going to finish taking that off too. Now we don't have to worry about, getting water anywhere because we're rebuilding it anyway. This was all loose because I ended up taking the muffin off. So that I could show the guy that the piston and cylinder were all scored. And that piston ring is done stuck. Those rings are stuck. So see what I mean by it being all dirty and stuff? So when we go to pull the cylinder off, all that stuff could get inside the crankcase and we don't want that. So I got it stripped down to where I can get in there with the pressure washer and scrub it. One thing I'm going to do is put the choke on to help kind of keep water out of there. What do we got here? Going in there, stink bugs. Fall, them bugs are out. Isn't that make it a lot nicer to work on when it's all nice and clean. And you ain't got all that crap to fall in there. So next we're gonna pull the carburetor off. And these are 8mm nuts or 5/16. This comes off, and this pops out. And then here's our carburetor, so we're gonna wanna pop this out next. And then our link. You gotta kind of hold the throttle open and get that link out. Let me move this, here we go. That link just fits in a slot in there. And then we can just pull the carburetor out. Woo! Got a geyser! Oh yeah, probably should have drained the fuel out too. But see that link, that throttle link just fits in here. So you kind of hold it open and then work it out of that area there. And we're gonna take a peek in the carburetor. Let me get this fuel drained out of there. So now that you dump the fuel out, it's a good time to take a look in the tank and look in the container that you poured the fuel in. And as you can see, there's lots of sawdust in there. So that doesn't help. So this is a good time to blow out the tank. These are all contributing factors. All right, now when you're blowing this out, be careful because you could blow this thing out of there and lose it. So we want to take this out, this little stiffener, and then we want to get this off, this little plate. Jeez. Now this little piece here, it says top. So that's important to remember when you're reassembling it. You want to make sure that's at the top. Now we could take our manifold boot and just push it inside like that. So we don't have to take any of this other stuff apart. Now we're ready to take our T27 and remove our 4-cylinder screws. So the rebuild on this 660 isn't really that bad. It's pretty simple compared to some other saws. Voila! Jugs off. Take our screws out because we're going to need them. Now's a good time to inspect the intake manifold boot. And we're going to take this off too because we have to put it on the new cylinder. Now we can get a look at our piston and see, rings are stuck. Scored on both sides and they are stuck. Never coming out. So now we're going to remove this little retaining clip that holds the wrist pin in. And there's a slot here and you're going to need some kind of small screwdriver to get in there. And kind of keep your finger over it because you don't want it to come popping out and lose it. And now I'll get underneath it with another screwdriver and we'll pop it out. Now they give you new ones in the kit, but this has happened to me before where I was trying to reinstall one and lost it, and then you're hunting all over for it. So hang on to the old ones until the job is done. Now we want to push the pin out. So let's go ahead and remove the other clip from the other side. Now this one I'm going to get lucky on because the end of the clip was right on the end of a hole. Another trick you can do is sometimes you can take the end of the screwdriver, find the end of the clip, and kind of turn the clip until you get the end of it right here, and that'll help pry it out. Now I usually like to find a socket that's about the same size as the wrist pin, and that's usually just 8mm, and then tap that wrist pin out. And then of course we have our wrist pin bearing, which there's a new one in the kit. So we don't need any of these parts. But there's our piston. Look at it. It's scored halfway around this side. So this thing may have a vacuum leak. But after we install the new piston and cylinder, we're going to pressure test it. So this how-to, you're going to need a lot of specialized tools. You're going to watch this video and you're going to go, I don't have any of them tools. I'm not going to be able to do that. This is your pulse line. So what this line does is when you pull it over, the crankcase pressure, that hose, the end of this hose plugs into here. That crankcase pressure is what pumps the pump. This is the fuel pump side of the carburetor. So that's what keeps the fuel pumping to it. So you're also going to want to inspect this line and make sure it's not dry rotted or got cracks in it, because if it does, that's going to affect the way it runs. This can't have any holes or breaches in it. Again, that could be a source of the failure. It was sucking air through this bad pulse line. So if you're rebuilding one of these saws and it's got a lot of time on it, you're probably going to want to replace this pulse line. So now we're going to take the shop air again, and we're going to go in here and we're going to blow out this crankcase real good just to make sure there's nothing in there. So let's open up our aftermarket kit. I've had pretty good luck with these Farmer Tech ones. I know there's a bunch of other ones out there. But again, the weak point, piston rings, 4 materials. So here's the new rings, the Farmer Tech ones, and you know where those are going, right in the garbage. Or on the floor next to the garbage. Here's our wrist pin and clips. Now, another thing to look at on these kits is the piston. Now I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but you can tell a better piston if it's got grooves machined in it this way. You can feel it. Hear it? I don't know if you can see them grooves, but there's little grooves in there. And that helps to hold that oil and gas mix in there. You don't want it real shiny smooth. So these pistons do have the little lines in there. And then also check your cylinder real good, because this cylinder is chrome plated. And you want to make sure that when they manufactured it, it didn't happen to slip through their stringent quality control over there. And you might have a spot where the chrome plating didn't adhere to the cylinder, so. And then look at all the pockets to make sure that they kind of rounded the edges. So you're just going to want to do a quick inspection of the cylinder. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of those spark plug threads. And again, you're probably going, well, I don't have a helicoil kit for that. How am I going to do that? Well, put it together and maybe your spark plug threads will hold in, or take it to a place that has the capability of helicoiling the spark plug threads, because you're not going to buy one of these kits. They're about $100 or more. I do have a video on helicoiling a spark plug on a chainsaw, because I know a lot of shops won't do it. We can't do that. You got to take it all apart. Them chips are going to fall in there. And you're going to ruin that saw. There's a guy on YouTube that does it. Well, that guy's an idiot. Well, I've done it hundreds of times. Never had a problem. Now, I know they got those other helicoil kits where you put that insert in there, that sleeve. Well, let me tell you, them kits suck. This is the only one to use. The one where you actually put the thread insert in there. So I'm going to use one that's 7/16 of an inch long. So we want to come out with a little bit of a lead so we can get it started. And there we go. We're off to the races. Then we'll pull this back and we'll keep spinning it until the very end of the helicoil. Right there is the end of the helicoil. And now it's in there. Now we can back it out. All right. See? Actually, I'm just going to go a little bit deeper. Now that I can see in there. There we go. Now we just got to break that little tab off. Tabs broke off. Now we got our new threads. So now I'll just take some shop air, blow it out, make sure there's no chips in there. And we can go ahead and start putting it together. So we loosened up the screw for our manifold. And we'll go ahead and peel that off. And we'll take a closer look at our boot. There seems to be a little bit of a tear right there. So I don't have a new manifold boot. So when you're doing this rebuild, the best thing to do is to tear it all down first. But we can't do that because we're showing you how to tear it down. So you should tear it all down first and inspect all these parts that I'm telling you about. So that way when you go to order everything, you'll have everything when you go to put it back together. We'll be able to tell if this is going to leak or not when we do our test. So we're just going to use this manifold boot over. Like I said, it's not tore through. It just got a couple of dings in it. Chances are it's still good. You can buy this aftermarket. They sell this boot aftermarket. You can just do a Giggle search. MS660 066 manifold boot. And I'm sure hundreds of little options will come up. So when you put this boot on, you notice it's got this little arrow here. That little arrow has got to line up with this casting mark, because that's where they casted the two halves in the foundry. So that's what that's for. That little arrow lines up with that. And when you look at it, you'll see that it's off kilter a little bit. That's how it's supposed to be. Because if you look at here, you'll see this is off kilter. So it's not supposed to be, you know, straight. It's supposed to be off center. So that's what that little arrow is for. And we'll go ahead and put our clamp on. Now before I send this thing out, because you can see the way this is distorted right there. Before I send this thing out, after we get done filming, I'll order a new boot and replace it. But we want to get the video done. Because you're probably thinking, look at this guy's a hack. This guy's a hack. He's just going to put that boot on there. Yeah, you can see where that clamp is cutting in to the boot. Eventually, it's just going to tear right through it. And it's going to suck air, and this thing will be back. But I'll put a new boot on it. Don't worry. Don't fret. Okay, I can go back to the couch now and do what I do best. Nothing. So they plugged off the compression release, so we need to use that plug over. So we'll take that out. Now those compression releases, that's another source of a vacuum leak. And we're going to take the plug out because the customer did put a brand new spark plug in it because he thought that was the problem. So this is all garbage. So, first thing you do is we got to put this gasket on. Now I put these gaskets on and tightened them down and pressure tested the crankcase and it leaked. Then I had to take it all apart and seal the gasket. So we're going to seal the gasket before we put it on. So take some carb spray or some brake cleaner and wipe down this surface real good, just to make sure there's no oily residue or anything on there. And then we're gonna put some black silicone on our gasket. Don't get crazy with it. I seen one time where the guy went so crazy with the sealer, because some of these don't have a gasket. You have to seal it, and when it all smooshed out, a bunch of that silicone came off and was all stuck in the muffin. And then he's like, I messed with this thing. I can't get this thing to run. And I took it apart and I'm like, that muffin's all full of silicone. How much silicone did you put in there? You only got to put a thin amount on there. Go crazy with the silicone. What's wrong with you? All right, so we can let that kind of set up while we're doing the rest here. There's an arrow on the piston. The arrow goes towards the exhaust, that way. And we're going to want to put our wrist pin in from this side and our clip, because it's easier to get at this clip from this side than it is from this side, because you got all this obstruction here. So we're going to want to put one of our clips in right away. And again, this is tricky with these clips. Somebody said they made a tool, some kind of tapered tool where they can insert these in there. I should make one. So we're going to need some kind of small needle nose type pliers. I've got, these are like surgical needle nose pliers. A little gripper on there. And you kind of want to keep this from jumping out, because that's when it goes whang and then you lose it and you can't find it. I don't know why they just don't use a snap ring. See how I kind of got it down in there like that? Little needle nose, little. Now I can come back this way and pop it in the groove. Now it's in there. Okay, now we're ready for our wrist pin bearing. And our wrist pin. I'm going to kind of test fit it. And then our rings. Now the rings. There's little pins. Little locating pins on the piston. On the ends of the rings. They're notched. So this is how the ring goes on. That little notch, like that. So it fits into the pin. Be careful you don't break the rings. See? Otherwise you're going to break them if you get them on upside down. There's our little notch. Alright, so now our rings are on. Now we need some lubricant. So we're going to use 2-cycle oil as our assembly lube and a paintbrush. And we'll oil up this wrist pin bearing. 2-cycle oil, quality 2-cycle oil is very important on these chainsaws. And I'll tell you a little story. Story time with Taryl. I had a tree service came in one time. You might have heard this story before. I might have mentioned it. Came in with like 8 chainsaws. Every one of them burned up, smoked. Probably close to $3,000 in Stihl chainsaws. Ruined. I'm like, what kind of oil are you using? Oh, I don't know. I got some kind of oil I'm using. that I got at the store. I said, well, go get the oil. Let me see what you're using. Well, I bought this in the quart bottle at Menards, Quaker State, 2-cycle oil. I go, you can't use that crap in there. It's got a picture of a chainsaw on there. I go, well, that just ruined all your stuff. I go, this isn't synthetic. I go, this is for old chainsaws, this will work, but it ain't gonna work on these new ones, they rev too high. I mixed it like it said. And he ruined everything. Ruined it all. I said, it's not synthetic. This is synthetic 2-cycle oil with fuel stabilizer. It's got stabilizer in it already, so you don't need to add any more stabilizer to it. He bought it in the quart bottles because he was mixing up 5 gallons at a time, and it was easier to do that than to buy the little 1 gallon or 2.5 gallon bottles. So you had to pour 2 of those into 5 gallons. Oh boy, ooh, that's gonna take up all of my day. I'll just buy this quart bottle, it's cheap. It's only at $5 at Menards. And he ruined his sauce. All right, arrow to the front. Got our bearing in. Lubed up our wrist pin. Slide it right in. Or you can use the 5/16 socket. Now, we'll never get that gasket on. That's why we had to put the gasket on first, because I know you're thinking, why didn't you put the piston on first, Taryl, and then put the gasket on? Because the gasket does not, for some reason, fit over that piston. So they make these tools also for holding the piston, but if we use one of these, it's gonna stick to our silicone. And we don't want that. It'd be nice if the stupid gasket sealed without having to put sealer on it. But like I said, I run into this before. Alright, so now we gotta get this started. This is the one that usually goes whang. Like I said, you're gonna kinda wanna keep your finger on it so it doesn't pop out on you. There we go. See, I got lucky. I made that look easy, didn't I? Wait till you try to do it. There's going to be all kind of cuss words your kids never heard before come out of your mouth. All right, so you want to make sure it's in that groove, which it is. You're going to want to make sure your rings are near those pins, so you don't break them. And those pins are in there so the rings don't turn and get caught on the ports. Because if that ring end gap was in this area right here, when that piston goes up and down, that end of that ring would get caught on the port and it'd just rip it out and break it. So now, take our paintbrush and some 2-cycle oil. And we can lube up the cylinder. Being careful not to get any oil on here, because then our silicone isn't going to work. So again, take your rag, some brake cleaner, carb spray, whatever you got. Wipe that surface. Make sure it's clean. And then they have piston ring compressors. I know what you're thinking. Oh my gosh, more tools I gotta buy to do. I'll just go buy a new chainsaw. Yeah, wait, we haven't gotten yet to all the tools. I like these plastic ones over the metal ones because they're more flexible. And this came in a whole set. with this. And look, it's made in Italy. So now we know they're in their little groove. Oh, Mr. Cameraman, bless you. Plus, there's a little chamfer on here, or radius, that helps you too guide it down. Easy peasy. All right. Now we can slide it down. Push on our manifold, because it's rubber. Kind of get that in position. Slide it on top of our gasket. Or not get it there yet. Let's just get it close. Because we need to put our bolts in. Now it's up to you if you want to put some Loctite on there. You don't have to, because it's got the serrated head, so they tend not to back out. When you tighten them, they kind of dig in. I like to put the bolts in now before I get it all the way down on there, instead of putting them in ahead of time, because it seems like they're in the way when you're trying to. All right. Now position it. Look in the front there, cameraman. You're not gonna sneeze again, are you? See? See a little piece of crap right there. So now we're lined up. Our gasket didn't move. You're probably gonna struggle with it. There'll be more cuss words. Your wife will be, "What are you cussing at in there? What are you doing? Just go buy a new chainsaw. Quit messing around with that. You don't know what you're doing. Turn that hillbilly off. Find that hillbilly and have him fix your saw. You don't know what you're doing. You're wasting your time. Go back on the couch." You're gonna want to torque it to 150 inch-pounds if you want to torque these. All right, we got them down. We're not tight, as you can see. I don't have ratchet strength fingers. Let's get it snug, and then let's turn it slowly just to make sure. Okay. Ooh, it makes a weird noise. Ooh, it's scraping noise. So I'm going to gradually tighten them in a cross pattern. Gonna put my plug in, or a compression release. Those compression releases, I've had them fail. I've had the saw come in because the compression release failed, and part of it fell in to the cylinder, got caught in the transfer port, ruined the saw. That's why a lot of people will just take them out. They go, "I don't even use that stupid thing anyway. I'm a man. I could tug on that thing. I'm a man. I'm a strong man. I'm not no weakling." We got our manifold boot back in. We're gonna put this on. Remember, it says top. And then this piece. Now, we're gonna pressure test it. So here you go. Get ready to spend more money. Oh geez, here he goes again. Another tool. I gotta buy this Torx bit. I gotta buy these ring compressor things. Oh, I gotta buy special pliers. I gotta have a torque wrench. Gotta have all these special tools. So this is the one I use. I know some of y'all are looking at it. That ain't the one you're supposed to have. This one's for carburetors, and it also works on these chainsaws. You need a vacuum one too, Taryl. You're supposed to check vacuum too. Well, I don't check vacuum. I just check to make sure it's sealed. If it's sealed, that's good. Who cares if it ain't about the vacuum? So this one comes, this little spark plug adapter. Screw that in there. And then the kit I have, which I've modified over the years, comes with these little rubber flapper things and block off plates. But some of the plates are for different models, so I've made my own plates. So we can put this one on. And then we're going to use the carburetor, but we have to block this off because this is coming from the crankcase. And we don't want to just shove the carburetor on there because it's going to blow air into here. And that air will escape out that, probably one of these holes. So now you need now another tool. Now you need a pair of hemostats. And we'll pinch that off and turn that out of the way. And then we're going to put the carburetor on to help hold this. And then we'll put the nuts on. You don't want to go through all this work, find out you got a vacuum leak, leaky crank seal, a leak somewhere else, crankcase leak. Do all this work, put it all together, run the thing for 5 minutes, and then it scored the piston again. Them cuss words will come out again. Then the wife's gonna come out, and I told you, look at all that money you wasted. You could have bought another chainsaw. And then there goes the chainsaw flying through the air. Or tied to a rope, used as a boat anchor. Now we got to block off the muffin side. So, you know, that's why they use these sometimes. You slip these in there, and then you put the muffin on. I don't really like these too much. They don't seal that well. I get the muffin on, I pump it up, and it's leaking down. I spray the soapy water around it, and it's leaking from around here, and then I got to take it all back apart, and That's why I kind of made my own plates and gaskets. Alright, got the plate on. I used the muffin screws from the muffin. Now I got this hooked up. Now we're going to pump it up. Now you got to be careful with one of these, because if you pump it up too high, you're going to blow out one of the seals. So I like to go right below that 0.05. Now maybe the one you buy will have instructions with it. Now if you did everything right, it'll hold. It'll stay there and it won't move. If it starts leaking down, you got to find out where that leak is. So we're going to let it set and we'll come back to it. Now if it leaks down, you got to get a bottle of soapy water and you got to start spraying it in areas where you can think it's leaking from, like around here, the manifold, the rubber manifold, or the crank seals. So you may have to take the flywheel off and spray around the crank seal Take the clutch off. Until you can find that leak. Now, sometimes I couldn't find the leak and it wasn't holding. So I filled up a wash tub full of water. Not soapy water, just regular water. And took the whole chainsaw and submerged it in the water with this thing hooked to it. So I'm gonna pump it back up because sometimes it'll lose a little air. I'm gonna get it right there and leave it. Sometimes I phone ring or something, I walk away and come back and it's still there at that spot, then we know it's good. But yeah, I've had to submerge it in a wash tub of water and then all of a sudden I can see the bubbles coming up. You're not gonna hurt it by putting it in the water and submerging it because you got everything blocked off. The water ain't gonna get into anywhere it shouldn't get into. Got the plug blocked off, you got the intake and exhaust, you ain't gonna hurt nothing. So it's dropping very, very so slightly. So let's try spraying it in a few spots and see. Like around this plug. How about this where we've screwed it in? How about the manifold here? Yeah, it's dropping. Not a lot, very slightly. Let's spray this. Let's spray where we did there. Maybe it's just leaking from here. Because sometimes when you block them off, it'll leak. Yeah, see, it's dropping. Let me pump it back up some more. Yeah, it's leaking from here. See? Woo! All right. So that's good. At least we know that's our leak. Everything else is sealed. That's our slight leak. Because I hate it when there's a leak and then you got to delve into it more. That's why it's so expensive to fix this stuff. That's why if you got a cheaper chainsaw, some guy ain't gonna sit there, some shop ain't gonna sit there and spend all that time trying to fix that cheap chainsaw. That's why you throw it away. This is a 660. This is a what? $1,200, $1,500 chainsaw? So you're gonna pay to get this fixed. This is expensive. This is like, you know, cheap lawn tractors, $1,500. You're gonna pay to get that fixed too. So this, you're gonna pay to get fixed, at 660. But them cheaper saws, unless you're fixing it yourself, shops aren't gonna do, they ain't gonna do that. They're gonna go, what it's gonna cost to fix that thing? You just go buy another one. Just throw the thing away, put it in the landfill. Paint it up, maybe put it on a shelf and admire it. It's a chainsaw. Okay, we're gonna let the air out. Ha ha! You hear that? Sound like a little fart. Little chainsaw fart. Chainsaw fart. Don't forget to take that rubber thing out of there. Don't be drinking when you're doing this. Stupid saw won't run. I did everything like Taryl said. Take that little rubber piece. Oh, that stupid rubber piece. I forgot that rubber piece behind there. It won't even start on starting fluid. Only when I shoot it down the hole. Yeah, because you left this on there, knucklehead. Taryl, maybe you should make a better blackout plate. Yeah, there's a lot of things I should do, like retire. Here, Elkskin's in the background. We told him, shut up while we're filming, and he... Human shop rag, Elkskins.
Hello.
Since we got the saw apart, let's take a peek inside the carburetor. This may be another source of your failure, why your saw failed. So let's take this cover off. And see if there's sawdust in that screen that's in here. No. So there's a little screen in there. That other one I did for that guy, that same guy that owns this saw, this thing was packed full of sawdust. And that could have been another reason why that one melted down. Because again, it ran, but this is acting like another filter and it's making it run lean. So since you got it apart, let's do a quick inspection of the carburetor. I want to go through all this work, get it all back together to take it back apart. Come on, stupid carburetor. Gasket on there. There we go. Now let's inspect the other side. Pull this little rubber boot off. I already took those screws out. I'm dropping tools. That's on top of the diaphragm. Okay. Looks good and clean. Get that sawdust off of there. Now we're ready to reassemble it and put the carburetor back on the saw. Now in this one there's a little notch on this diaphragm that fits in that little notch on there. Now not all of these have that. Some do, some don't. Some you just lay the diaphragm on top. So just be aware of that if you take this side off, that you get that little notch back in there. Now we're gonna slide the carburetor on. This has got to go into there. And then hook your fuel line up. Now we got to get our throttle in there. So you're going to want to get the tool so you can get the butterfly open. Screwdriver, hold it open. This is where those hemostats will come in handy again. So you can grab that and get it in there. Now check it. See? Voila! Now we can put this on. Let's blow this off. It's all dirty. Now we can slide this back on. Put this on. Get our nuts on there. Now check your throttle, make sure your choke works. Your latch locks up, your stop, make sure that all works. All right, now we can go ahead, tighten these down. Wanted to make sure that stuff worked before we went tightening it down, then we had to take it back apart again because you got something messed up in there. Tighten them down, don't go crazy. Okay, that's all on. Now we can put this back on. This is dirty too. Blow it off. Keep everything clean. Big part in the bottom. Little guide. Guide your screwdriver in there while you're adjusting it. Your low speed, your high speed. LA stands for Los Angeles, California. No. Low, idle. That's your low, that's your idle there. All right, so now we got all that in. So this was bad. I'm gonna pop that in there. Here's the screw for it. Right here. Put this little plastic thingy on there. Because he destroyed the other one. And then here's our cap, because that was missing. That's got to pop in there. And our chain catcher, see? Not a dream catcher, chain catcher. See how that fits in there? And that kind of helps keep that plug from popping out. Now I know these things the chain catches them and cuts them off, so at least if you got just this part on there still, that'll help tremendously. And this was the screw for that. For the dream catcher, I mean chain catcher. So we gotta put our safety brake on that they broke. Because I don't know about you, but these tree service guys are animals. So we have to put this other buffer on there. And I gotta put the safety brake on. So you're getting some added stuff here. So I removed the 4 screws that hold this plastic cover on. And of course there's more nastiness in there. So kind of loosen it up with a screwdriver. And then of course we will blow this all out, get it all clean. Which I'm going to take it outside to do that, because it makes a mess inside the shop. So we'll blow that all out and then it'll be all nice and clean the next time you see it. So there's a little E-clip or C-clip you take off in the spring, and then this pops out. This whole thing comes off of here like this. And there's a little spring under here for this. So that spring hooks into here like so, see? See that? I have a video on this too on how to replace one of these. And then this is another Farmer Tech Hutzel handguard. These are pretty good. I've used a lot of these. Just a plastic part. So this fits in here. And you gotta line it up with that. And then it fits on this pin. So you gotta get it lined up. Come on, little doggy. So we gotta move this thing down here on the bottom that's holding us up. And get that on there like so. See? So that goes in there, see? Like that. And this is on here. Now we can push that down. Now this hooks into there. So we'll take this out. Pop this out of there. Come on, little doggy. So I can get that hooked in there. This brake band. There we go. Now we can reinstall this. Pop it back in here. Get that brake band, safety brake band. Okay, so now we're in. Now we want to take our little clip and put it back on there. And be careful not to lose it. I don't think that's down all the way. There we go. Now we're on there. Okay. Now the spring. So the spring hooks in here and it's got to go on this pin. So I use a piece of tubing that fits over that pin like I show in my video. And I shove it in there, almost like when you're doing brakes on a car. There. There's your dinner. There's our brake. And there's our clip. I must have stretched that clip out a little bit. That baby's ready to come off. Because I didn't have this down all the way. Alright, let me squeeze it together a little bit. There's our dinner. There's our dinner. There, now it's on there tight. Knock this down in there. Make sure that's down in there. Alright. Now we can put our cover back on. There's a little added dinner for you. Now this other buffer was busted on this saw too. Well, on the other saw, I had to take the good one off of this one to put on there. But Sten's makes it for the 660 or 066. You can buy a lot of these Stihl parts aftermarket. I'm sure that's making them happy over there at Stihl. So that just goes on here like so. And you just gotta push on this to get the one in. And then just push this back the other way. Well, I tightened it too tight. Get a big screwdriver, kind of pry it over. Now I can tighten this one down. Alrighty then. There we go. Now let's put our recoil back on. Like I said, those tree guys, they're animals. It's hard work cutting them trees. That's why this equipment takes a lot of abuse. So it comes with a new exhaust gasket. We got our screws in there already. We're going to carefully get them started. These we're going to put in by hand. Not going to use the impact on them. We don't want to cross thread these. We don't want to be the cross thread cowboy. So you're going to want to just snug them down. You know, you want this loose. We want this loose. And then we're going to take the big screws that go down here in the corners. And we're going to get those started. Because if you just go ahead and tighten these down, you're going to find out when you go to put that cover on that if you ain't got this lined up, you're just going to have to take this back apart. So these are going to line this up. Now we're good and lined up. Now we can go in there and tighten these to the cylinder. Okay, we got our plug back in. Plug boot on. We got this little piece we're going to stick back in there. I'm going to put our air cleaner back on. If you need a new air filter, buy one. Again, these are all parts. I thought there was a top. Yeah, this is the way it goes. So that's why when your saw fails, tear it all down. Inspect everything and then just order all the parts at once. That way you'll have everything you need. Here's our wrap handle. And I am missing one screw, and that was for here. Alright, I gotta get me a screw for that. I wonder what that, oh, that's because the other one was missing altogether on that other saw and I had to steal it. Alright, I gotta find a screw. Stems also sells these 5mm screws. And the part number is 415-350 and it comes in a package of 5. So you can get these actual Stihl screws. They're not the actual Stihl, but they're the same ones. They're a knockoff. Now you want to be careful because these are only going in the plastic. Just easily strip these out. Cool. All right. 660. Now, just one last thing we need to do. And that's change out this tank filter. Because we don't know how dirty it is. I already blew the tank out. Again with the hemostats. Helps hold that. And let's see which ones I got. I got the Oregon ones. With the 1/4 inch nipple. 07 to 11. 07 to 11. 07 to 11. 07 to 11. Fresh filter. Now some fresh dinosaur syrup. Man-made dinosaur syrup. And dinosaur juice mix. Joe. Woo! That's a rebuild. Had to do a little tweaking on the carburetor. Had to open up the low speed a little bit, and somebody had that thing idled way up. Probably one of them tree guys. They like to get in there, give them a screwdriver, and they're going to get in there and start messing around. So now that it's warmed up, should be able to just pull it. Stihl 066 MS660 rebuild. There's all my parts. Rebuild with the Hutzel Farmer Tech cylinder, Stihl original rings, and multiple other stands and Hutzel parts and just a whole mishmash to get that thing going again. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'm rocking the slipper shirt. I love that guy, even though I give him a hard time. I love that man. I love that old wrinkly man. Follow me. Come on. Get your, hey, don't cut me with that chainsaw. Just follow me with your chainsaw. Facebook and Instagram. Be careful. Back off. Put that thing down. Go to our web store. Buy some Taryl apparel. We got slipper stuff and Taryl stuff. And as always, there's your dinner. Woo! MS660 rebuild. Lots of tips and tricks. Better get some money out, start buying some tools if you're gonna do chainsaw rebuilds. You'll do a couple of them and then you'll be like, I ain't working on them chainsaws. Them things are a pain in the butt. Thanks again for all your help, Dr. Scammer. I think I know somebody who fits this profile. So, I think I'll go talk to the warden. Maybe we can make your time here a little bit more comfortable. Get you a Teddy Ruxpin, some Teddy Ruxpin tapes. Might make the time go by a little quicker. Having Teddy tell you a little story. You like that? Would you like that?
Oh, great. That'd be amazing. I love Teddy Ruxpin. He goes on the craziest adventures. But seriously, when I get out of here, I want to have you for lunch. Your treat, of course, because I don't have any money.
Dynamark Dan, reveal yourself to me.
I'm not coming out, so you can go grease a wheel.
Blademan! I think he's inside here.
You think so, Taryl? He just popped his head out and said, hey.
Allow me to throw an edge on you, Blademan.
Thought you could get away with it forever, didn't you, Dynamark Dan? Ha! Well, we put a stop to that. Way to go, Blademan.
You can lock me up all you want, but I'll be back out before you know it, picking and pulling parts. You'll never stop me.
Take him away, Throttle. I'm sick of looking at this piece of junk.
All right, we gotta get the commissioner's mower back to him first, and then we're gonna take this guy to the scrapyard. Come on, up on your feet.